Now, the one thing I will reflect on is that we had canned sodas or pop, wherever, depending on where you're from. So they're okay. The problem with them is you got to buy a lot of ice to keep them cold. They take up a lot of room in the back of your space where you really should be using that room for foodstuffs and things like that. So I don't always suggest it. We happen to have it because Patty's son just got married a few months ago, and we had the cans to use.
Right. We were trying to get
But
rid
I
of them.
don't necessarily suggest that. If you want to have something that is easy and portable, just do bottled water.
Yeah.
And I thought the lemonade and the iced tea was a great idea, and it cost pennies.
Pennies.
By the time we figured out how much it cost and what we were charging, which was we charged $3.
Yeah.
And it came out to a less than 15 cents a piece, as far as that's with the cup and everything.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that was worth the effort that we had to put into it, which was very little.
Welcome to the Charcuterie Launch Lab podcast, where passion meets profit. If you've ever dreamed of turning your love for charcuterie, or food of any kind, into a thriving online business, well then you're in the right place. We're Andrea and Patty, the Grazing Biz Sisters. With over 60 years combined experience as a chef and digital marketer, we have walked in your shoes starting our own online businesses. We'll share all of our tips, advice, struggles, and best strategies to help you launch and grow your own online foodie business with ease. The Charcuterie Launch Lab is a space for all food creators and entrepreneurs just like you. Let's dive in and get your yummy business launched online, one board at a time. Hello, everybody. It's Patty and Andrea. How are you? We're back well, we were both kind of on vacation, so we apologize. It's been a week or so, but we're back. We just had a chat that we're going to try to get on a little more often now that we have a little less vacations coming around and stuff that was going on, and events, right? Anyway, how are you? You just got back from a trip with our mom. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. No, it's good. I'm tired. It's one of those vacations where you need a vacation from your vacation. That's what that was.
Yeah,
But
you were hitting the brick wall yesterday, so
oh, yesterday she was begging me to get on, and I'm like, dude, I can't even get out of bed.
I
I'm
know.
done. So
Yeah.
I sat
Well, yeah.
I watched The Gilded Age and all my favorite shows that come up on Sundays. So
Nice. That's the
I
way to
have
do
very
it.
few days where I do that, and yesterday was one of them, and it was rainy in northern Arizona, so it was a good day to
Good
lay
day.
back and not do anything.
Well, it's cloudy down here too. I'll give you the link here, not now yet, but it'll be in the show notes probably by next week. But anyway, the book should be done. I sat up yesterday trying to get it all edited while I was watching golf. So that's what I was doing in the clouds too, because it was cloudy down here, but it was still 100. So anyway, here's where we're at today. So this episode, we're going to finish our story of our 3-day event. And I think you're going to just find it to be quite interesting. We had the good and the bad and the ugly. You heard about the ugly, the weather and stuff, and then where it went from there. So we're now on day 2. So we're picking up from on day 2, which would be the actual 4th of July, right? Because we got there the 3rd in the afternoon, and now it's the morning of the 4th of July, and we're anticipating it to be really, really crowded. And turns out we were messed up on the dates on when things were going on. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. But before we do, let's talk about our plan for the morning, because we knew we had to be there in the morning, and we didn't think people were going to eat charcuterie first thing in the morning. So Andrew had a
Right.
brilliant idea about we had to be there at 8. And after the fiasco the night before, by the way, if you didn't hear the previous, you need to go back and listen to the previous podcast, because we had major, major weather. And so we basically shut down early. And so then the next morning, Andrew had to go home, and we'll tell the story about why she was late in the morning the next day. But Mike and I, my husband, got there early to clean up the mess. And you were there a little bit late, but there was a good excuse for that. But that said, we had plenty of time to clean up because it was still, quiet in the morning. But
Mhm.
we did plan to have something available and ready for the morning crew when people did show up. And the reason we wanted to be prepared is because there was two parades during the weekend. So there was a children's parade that was just for kids, but I didn't realize it was a children's parade. So I was wondering where everybody was first thing in the morning. It was kind of quiet when we first got there. I'm like, shouldn't people be like loading up the streets? Well, it turns out it was just a children's parade, and they were on the other side of the road, so they really weren't anywhere near where we were at, which and it was
Hmm.
good and bad, but at the same time gave us time to get kind of organized. So let's talk about what we did for breakfast because we decided we were going to do breakfast. So that
Yeah.
was positive. And so
So I
what
think
did we
we
do?
talked about on the last podcast that we did the flatbread idea. And with that said, with the flatbread, we had ham on our regular charcuterie offerings. We had
Yeah.
cheese, sharp cheddar. And so I brought my little, I have like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to like a brunch where you make omelets or whatever. And I have like these little portable, propane things,
Okay, burner. Yeah. Yeah.
burners. And so I brought that and I brought one of my large flat cast iron skillets. And I'm like, I'll make some eggs for the few people in the morning that might want them. So we went and got eggs. And so that's what we did for some breakfast time. And we sold,
Egg
pretty decent
sandwich.
amount of them. Just an egg
Well,
sandwich is all I made.
on a
So,
flatbread folded over.
right.
So
So I
we'll have a
folded it over.
picture here. So if you have a morning event and you need to be there, then this was really the way to go. We charged $9 for that, and but we got a little rushed because we were I don't know if we were there. There was. Did we mention? I don't know if I mentioned, but there were some people that were 4 or 5 tents away from us that were selling what were they selling? Kimchi. Well, it was kimchi.
They
It was
had
Asian
they had
food.
kimchi, but they had an egg sandwich, and I think they had a grilled cheese sandwich too, or something. I
Yeah,
don't
they were
remember.
throwing eggs on things.
So they were doing
They
that. But
charged
so
more.
the first morning where we had the kids parade, it was not super busy, but we did make quite a few for like the vendors, the other vendors that were just around, and it wasn't super busy. So we were just kind of like, oh, it was laid back, whatever. And then it was the next day that we did the
Oh, the
parade
busy.
was the major nor even though it wasn't 4th of July, it was the 5th of July. For whatever reason, they did the parade in the morning. I think it started at 9 or something. We were open on time. We were ready to rock and roll, and we got clobbered
Clobbered. Yeah,
with
that's good.
breakfast.
Busy. Yeah.
Yeah, we were super busy. I couldn't make the eggs fast enough. I couldn't do anything fast. It felt like I was going slow. But here's what I did. I brought my chafing dish for breakfast. So I was pre-making sandwiches and putting them into the chafing dish so I would be ahead of the game as I went because they were still freshly made. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
them. They were just staying warm in there.
Yeah, that
Not
was
that it
brilliant,
not that
actually.
it wasn't, 85 degrees outside, but you don't want to have
Yeah.
them outside and all the flies flying on them. So they were covered and they were protected, and all I had to do was pull them out. But man, people were buying them, once I started cooking eggs and people were showing up for that parade, dude, we were rocking and rolling.
Yeah. It was
So
good.
that
I
was
mean,
cool. And Patty was selling her lemonades and, everything was going out the doors. So it was awesome. We were even selling charcuterie, the flatbread charcuteries during that time too, which kind of threw us off our groove because we weren't ready for that. We
yeah,
were
right.
like ready to just do eggs. And then all of a sudden somebody go, well, we'll take 2 charcuterie flatbreads
Yeah.
and we'll take 3 sandwiches. At one point, there was a family that ordered sandwiches for everybody. So I
Yeah.
think I had made 6 right in a row or something.
Yeah.
So I even
And
put
I
them in
think
bags.
what how it worked out is that because Andrea had her hands in the food and somebody had to deal with the money. So we'll talk a little bit about how that all panned out. But
Mhm.
I tried to keep my hands free out of the food because somebody needed kept picking up
Yeah.
the phone to get the
Credit
money,
cards.
or but we
Mhm.
got more cash pretty much over the weekend. And so that was something that was kind of unexpected for me. Although we did get cards, we had a lot of people come up and just buy, $1 water with a card, which is funny to me, but I get it because I never have cash on me either. But
Yeah.
so we had to be sure that we were dealing with it. But what was interesting is that, I've not worked in a restaurant like Andrew has. The people started coming and we weren't doing the best of jobs of keeping track of who had got their food
Yeah,
And we the orders were coming in. We were trying to stay on top of it. So then, I got kind of smart and got little sheets of paper and was like writing
right.
down Mary's name had two sandwiches and,
Yeah,
and did I take their money? So there was this, I'm busy trying to make drinks too, because I think I might have mentioned that we bought pre-mixed lemonade and iced tea, which I can't stress enough how good that was, because
yeah,
we had a kind of pretty jugs. And again, we've got pictures that I'll put on here of in case you missed it in the previous one. We had pretty clear jugs. We had three of them that you could see the lemonade and see the tea. We had iced tea. So people were doing lemonade, iced tea, Arnold Palmer's. And of course, we had ice drinks, cans of pop. We had water. So there's lots of money to be made on the drinks. And I think, don't underestimate it. People don't want to wait in line more than once if they can help it. And people were just coming up for the lemonade.
they were.
Especially the vendors. The lemonade went over really, really well. And what did we spend on that can? You went to a Walmart and bought a
I went to
can that
Walmart
was,
and just bought that huge can. They sell, in their regular drink aisle, they sell this massive lemonade can of instant mix, and you don't have to do anything but mix it with water, so it doesn't require sugar. It's not sugar free either,
no,
but
it wasn't sugar
it
free.
doesn't require sugar.
Yeah.
And I think it was $5. It was a huge can,
And we
and
made
yeah, I don't know,
I
what we
probably
made off of
made, I
it,
think I was
but
able to make like at least 6, 7 gallons out of that one can. And if you figure with ice in a 20-ounce cup we had, that lasted quite a long time, and we sold them for $3. Now we had, I had bought the cups with lids and straws all in one box. So, and honestly, that wasn't very expensive. I feel like I spent maybe $10, $12 on that box that had 100 cups, had 100 lids, had 100 straws. It was all one. And so it was totally worth it. And the great thing is, even if you don't use them all, which we didn't use them all, we've got them for the next event or the next
mhm.
gig. I just recommend that you don't hide your drinks behind the counter. You put them on the front. You put them in, if you can get, jugs. I don't know where you got those one jug. Like I have one that I got, I don't remember where I got it for a wedding that I was, one of my kids' weddings. I think I bought it, but it had spigots on it. Yours were kind of more like huge mason
They're
jars.
big mason jars. I
Like
bought them
they're really
for
cute with spigots on them. Hey, real quick, it's Patty here. If you've ever thought about turning your charcuterie skills into a legit money-making business, or if you already have a board biz that could use a serious upgrade, then you've got to check out the new short video we just dropped at grazingbiz.com. It's called Start or Grow Your Charcuterie Business in Under 30 Days, and it's packed with how to get started from our over 60 years of combined experience as a chef and marketer. We want to help you go from just for fun platters to a full-blown online business. We're talking websites, automated ordering systems, pricing calculators, and even marketing templates, and how to build your list of customers. We give you an entire business in a box that you can launch in less than 30 days. Go watch the quick video now at grazingbiz.com. If you've got the passion, we got the plan. Let's get you selling boards before the next holiday rush. Again, that's grazingbiz.com. See you there.
I don't even know where I got them, honestly. I just bought them for Nicole's wedding. So my
Yeah,
middle daughter was married 10 years ago, and her whole theme, because I lived in Wyoming, was rustic. So
yeah.
we did everything with mason jars and managed to find those somewhere. And I honestly don't remember.
Handy.
It could have been anywhere. But
Yeah,
anyway, I still had them, and they hold a gallon and a half. I think they were a gallon and a half, something
yeah,
like that. So I had wine in ours.
yeah. That's
I
smart.
had four of them
I wish
initially, and
I'd
two
had
of them
wine the
broke.
day before in ours.
I know we needed it.
Anyway,
But yeah, so they were used for wine for
but
her wedding. But
but
anyway, so they're very cool looking, and Patty made tea in them, and so everything with the drinks went well. Now, the one thing I will reflect on is that we had canned sodas or
Mhm.
pop, wherever, depending on where you're from. So they're okay. The problem with them is you got to buy a lot of ice to keep them cold. They take up a lot of room in the back of your space where you really should be using that room for foodstuffs and things like that. So I don't always suggest it. We happen to have it because Patty's son just got married a few
Hmm.
months ago, and we had the cans to
Right.
use.
We were trying to get
But
rid
I
of them.
don't necessarily suggest that. If you want to have something that is easy and portable, just do bottled water.
Yeah.
And I thought the lemonade and the iced tea was a great idea, and it cost pennies.
Pennies.
By the time we figured out how much it cost and what we were charging, which was we charged $3,
Yeah.
and it came out to a less than 15 cents a piece. As far as that's with the cup and
Cheap.
everything.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that was worth the effort that we had to put into it, which was very little. Carrying around cases of pop
Yeah.
slash soda sucks. It
Yeah,
sucks.
it really did. And then when the weather got skanky, we had, well, I
For
was,
lack of a better word.
yeah, well, because we had everything stored under the tables that were
Yeah.
kind of sitting out just a little bit past the tent, and we had to drag everything in, and then I
Just
was
takes so
dragging
much
all those
space.
things and dragging everything
Yeah.
in, and then the boxes got soggy, and then we had to pick them up, and then when I picked them up, some of them broke, and the pop was spraying all over the place. So I'm all for what Andrew said. I wouldn't do it again, except for we've got a lot left over, so I got to get rid of it. And some of
Yeah.
it we couldn't. It was because the boxes
Couldn't
got
even give it away.
trashed. We couldn't take them back. Um, and so right now they're sitting. I was telling Andrew, I said, I'm afraid they're still going to leak, so they're in my guest room on my carpet on top of a shower curtain right now. So because I
Jeez.
can't leave them in the garage.
Just
It's a
put them in the
hundred.
guest bedroom, in the guest bathroom, and leave them in there.
I could have put them in the tub, I guess. But yeah, I
Anyway,
can't even.
so the moral of that story is
Oh.
it's all up to you guys. You do what you guys do you, but I would never deal
Boo
with canned
boo.
sodas. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'm in
So
a total agreement because schlepping that in and out of there and
pain in
then
the
keeping
butt.
everything cold. That
Yeah.
was,
The
we
ice
were,
that we had to spend
yeah, there was a lot of money in
on
ice.
to keep that cold
Yeah.
definitely made it not worth it.
Is
And
that
then they
an,
weren't always
exactly.
cold. And Patty's trying to test them to see which ones are cold. And yeah,
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 rotating them and
don't do pop and soda. Just
I
do
wouldn't,
bottled water, even though I hate bottled water because I'm just one of those sustainable
yeah, we don't do that
people.
either.
I hate it. But when you're in 90-degree heat
People
and
needed
it's
it.
hot, people will buy them, and they'll buy
Yeah.
them as long as they're not, 90 degrees.
Yeah, we
So
sold more water and more lemonade as far as
yeah,
numbers
they
go
want the
than
flat,
anything else that we sold, to be
right?
quite honest with you,
So,
because people, it
right.
was hot and people, we were an
And
easy
of
run up
course,
and grab
we
something.
bought, yeah, we bought
So,
the bottles at Costco, which it was infinitely cheaper than anywhere
yeah,
else. So, you get the 35 pack or whatever. So that was definitely worth it. We only charged $2 for those. I like to tell people what we're charging because
yeah,
that seems to be always the biggest question. They don't know what to charge.
yeah.
We're basing it on, okay, the
It's
sodas,
reasonable.
or I'm sorry, the drinks only cost 15 cents and, whatever. But
Yeah.
anyways, we can talk about that to the end of time.
So
So there's
that was
that.
good. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
that. So all right, so that was a success. We had breakfast, worked out good. We switched out when we decided, okay, we're done. We could have served the eggs all day. We did serve them, I think, up until after a little bit after lunchtime, I think, on the
People
second day.
wanted, we had some people come up and say, can I get the egg sandwich without the egg? Like in the middle of the day.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So I had made a couple of vegetarians, well, not vegetarian. Yeah, I guess I don't know what
Yeah,
the
they
hell they're
kind of
called. But
were.
anyways, the
Yeah.
ones that
Well,
don't eat eggs, but they eat cheese, whatever.
yeah.
So they were getting the flatbread. I was making them grilled cheese with flatbread that had sharp cheddar and brie on it. And I'll be damned, that was good.
Yeah, that sounds
So,
good.
and then giving them a little side of tomatoes and olives. And they were getting that instead of getting the
Right.
charcuterie treat. There was
And
a
I
few
guess we
people
should
that,
talk about that because there were people, and we might have mentioned it the other day, but there were people that came up and said, "Can we get one gluten free?" So because
right.
we didn't have crackers like anybody else would normally have, we didn't have normal bread. We had the flatbreads. Andrea did pick up a bag of those gluten-free type cracker
Hmm.
things, a bag at Costco, which was brilliant because we didn't use the whole thing. We just had one bag. It's all we needed. And
Yeah,
then we
for
probably
the
used
people.
it 3 or 4 times.
Hmm.
But outside of that, although you can't, you got to warn people, you can't guarantee for those people that are celiac or whatever it is that they're not supposed to be having one little iota of, you got to be careful because they need to know that you can't
Yeah,
guarantee
everything's
everything is
mixed.
100% gluten
Yeah.
free.
Or
If
if they
you're
get
that
peanut
concerned about it,
allergies or whatever, it
that's
is
up
what it
to
is.
them. Yeah,
So
because yeah,
we can't
they're
keep that
risking that.
separated. We're not a professional kitchen on site. So
Okay, so
most people know that,
when
but
somebody came up and said they didn't want nuts, we gave them options to give them some more
yeah,
dried
just
fruit.
gave them more tomatoes or more
Right.
olives
But
or
we didn't
more
give them
something.
another piece of salami or because that
No,
trade-off is not
didn't
equal.
equal.
Right.
Right,
That was key.
right. So,
All right, so let's get on to our things we had to deal with keeping the food cold again. We brought it up,
yeah,
but I know you really want to hit this home, and I don't blame you because this was something I am 99.9999% sure that everybody who has a charcuterie cart out there, no matter whether you're inside or outside with it, are going to be dealing with keeping things cold. And so
right.
let's talk about your bigger concern, which we talked about, I think, a little the other day before we even got started. You're going to note when you look at our pictures of our tray or of our cart that we actually had lids and then a dome over the top of it. The lids that we had on each one of the 6 things inside the bins, and I'm not going to get into all that again, just look at the picture. We've got a bin that had the ice packs in it, and then we had the 6 things in it because our cart doesn't have 6 individual containers sitting separate because that would have been more challenging to keep cold. It was
Mm-hmm.
one big buffet type pan that had the 6 things in it. But you said to me, which made a lot of sense, put lids on. Let's get some lids that were separate and explain why that was again, just so people understand why you did that.
So when you leave them exposed like that, all that heat or all the cold air is escaping
Escaping.
from the top.
Yeah.
And so my thought process was just knowing from experience being on a restaurant line, if you will. I didn't know if people know what that means, but when you're on the line in the back, you're in the kitchen cooking for other people. Everything has a lid on it for the most part, except for when you're in a rush. And so you want to keep that lid on there to continue to keep the cold air in, or in other words, you could also be trying to
Hot,
keep the
hot
hot
stuff
air
hot.
in,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
So in this case, I knew it was going to be hot. I knew it was going to be a challenge. It was our first time doing this, and because it's not an electric, compressor type thing that you would have in a kitchen to keep everything cold,
Yeah.
you're just going to be challenged with it. So lots and lots of ice packs. I bought these little teeny weeny ice packs. They're gel filled so that we could put them like all around and all up on top and all over. They're not
Obviously, there was,
actual ice.
yeah.
They're ice packs that are gel filled. And I put them inside Ziplocs to keep everything clean because you don't want those sitting right on it. And so those little ice things were just kind of all over the place, filling in, and I was moving them around and trying to keep
Yeah.
everything cold.
Inside the container, under the individual lid. But previous and in the morning, you had towels over the top
Hmm.
of the inside the dome over the top of all the lids because of the way the sun was shining in and just
Yeah,
keeping things
it was
cold.
just hot. You couldn't keep
So
anything
you made
really.
a good point the other day about that because the presentation is a lot. I mean, it
Mhm.
would mean a lot, but the reality is that unless you are doing a good job keeping things cold, and I mean seriously cold, we'll talk about the thermometer here. In the center of the whole entire thing, the reality is that the presentation is going to get totally screwed up when you
Right.
got to have to put these ice things on top and eventually it became very, very important because of the temperature we were in. But
Yeah.
like we were saying in our previous podcast, that the health department came and even told us about, and you've since talked to the health department too, because we
Yeah.
were talking about an upcoming event, which by
Hmm.
the way, we've chosen to cancel because of the weather. But
Right.
because they, what did they tell you? You called the health department about our
So I
concerns about the upcoming event being located in the sun.
Right,
And
right. Part of it was I called because I've always been concerned about. I love the charcuterie cart idea. Always have. I think it's wonderful, but I knew after just experience that keeping the stuff cold was going to be a challenge, no matter what your weather was. Unless you were in 40-degree weather and you're outside, it's going to be a challenge and you have to be aware of it. Now, here's the thing. It comes down to the aesthetics. So the aesthetics are completely lost at the time that you go to put the
lids on
stuff
and the
on
nice
top to keep it
packs.
all
And yeah,
cold.
yeah,
So then we kind of rolled with maybe we'll just put the items that don't need to be cold. We're talking tomatoes, we're talking nuts, we're talking your little boats, you're talking just all the pretty little things that are not necessarily easily perishable.
yeah.
So our thought was that the next time we do this, that's what we're going to do. We're going to fill those little containers with things that don't have to be freezing cold, or below 40
All
degrees.
right.
So those things will go into what we plan to buy, which is the catering coolers and the Yeti type coolers that will hold everything much tighter, much colder, and we'll never have to worry. None
Yeah.
of this, whatever. So
Right.
you'd be picking things out of the coolers. We would make them handy on the table for us to do that. So that was our plan moving forward, just so
Well, and
everybody.
also the other thing we talked about was not putting as much food in the container.
Right, right.
It's not necessary to do that because you have got your coolers down on the ground, your Yeti coolers with all the containers with all of your stuff staying cold in the
Hmm.
coolers or wherever you've got them. In our case, like I said, we were kind of lucky because we had a refrigerator, but it was a little bit
Right.
of a walk to get to it, but we were able to
Yeah.
get
But we
there.
could use it.
Whatever, if you've got access at an event to be able to take advantage of that. So that's something you want to talk to the event holder. If is there a chance that there's a refrigerator on site? If you can bring a refrigerator, we talked about even bringing Andrew's little, she's got a little kind of
I have a
college
glass
size
mini
one.
fridge. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that. If you have access and want to do that, and you're going to be there for longer than a few hours, I think this is where it really comes into play. How long are you going to be there? Because if it's only
Right.
for a few hours, none of this is going to be a concern.
Right. None of it
Because you
matters.
can leave things out for what's it, 4 hours, I believe. Now, you obviously
Hmm.
want to keep it cold as much as you can, but the problem we had because we were there all day, you have to make that choice. Does this kind of event make it make sense? As I was writing or we're writing this book, we talked about the event that you choose to do this cart at or any kind of charcuterie or anything you're selling, you have to decide does it make sense for you and that particular kind of event. We go
Hmm.
back to Derek's wedding in April. We knew that that was a table, a grazing table, that it was only going to be out there for 2 hours between, and honestly, as you think about, okay, how much can I, now again, whether or not you do this is totally up to you, but you have to decide what's the event going to be, how long you're going to be out there, what do the people expect that you're doing this, and then decide whether it makes sense for you to actually take that event on. And I think that's
Hmm.
part that most of us are just like, oh, I'm going to set this card up, I'm going to put all the food in there, roll it out there, everything's going to be hunky dory. Well, it's not quite that easy when you start
Hmm.
thinking about all of the stuff that you have to, be prepared for. So Derek's wedding set up for 2 hours. Everybody devoured it. No concerns
Hmm.
about any coldness or anything. I
Yeah, it was
mean,
it was totally devoured. I mean, my God, I went back to go clean it up at
yeah,
the end of the night, and
there's
I'm
nothing
like,
to clean
okay, so I
up.
don't have to do any work. It was all
Yeah,
gone.
I mean, because we did leave it out there,
Yeah,
the
there were
food
crackers and
came.
other things.
Yeah,
So
so it wasn't like, yeah, but the food came and, anyway,
yeah,
because that's the other part. If you're going to be at an event like a public or a private event, that you got to know, are people going to be eating later on? If they're going to be eating later on for dinner, how much do you really need to have there? Make sure that you're planning, make sure that you get our book because we're going to go into detail about all this. So I'm going to
yeah, yeah,
plug the
yeah.
book
We
now
did.
because the book is 70 pages of some really in-depth
We
information about
went
pricing and
in depth.
shopping. Yeah.
Right, right. I
Pricing,
mean, much
buying.
more in depth than what we're even talking about here because it's easier to put all of this down in paper form rather than, I mean, granted, we're talking about it, but we really were thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
So it's much more informative, the book,
Well, yeah, to be able to
and what
get,
we're even giving you here because we're going through it so differently. But
well, yeah, because this is a market,
yeah.
outside door out event, the way to deal with.
But we want to
Now,
go back to, I want to go back really quick because I
let's
think
talk about the thermometer thing
yeah,
too.
I keep forgetting about that. So one of the required, well, it's not even required, and it's kind of silly that the health department, at least in our case, doesn't tell you get yourself some thermometers. Thermometers are, your best friend because
Mhm.
when you're at any event, even if it's an hour-long event, whatever, you want to check those foods and put it down deep and put it at the middle and, check it on the top of, make sure that they're holding temperature. And it's just as simple. I don't have one in front of me, but it's just a simple little thermometer, not your candy thermometer with the big old thing and the roasting temperatures.
Yeah.
It's just a little thermometer, and it's a chef thermometer. We call it like a speed thermometer thing because it does it very quickly. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be digital. I do have a digital one, by the way, but you can just whatever. So it just sticks it in there. You check it. I was checking it every
All
half an
over,
hour.
all
Yeah,
over
all
in the pan.
over. I was checking different things all the time. I had the thermometer down in the cooler to make sure the cooler was holding with the prepped food. So when I wasn't checking the temps on the actual charcuterie card, I just left it down in the cooler so that I knew the cooler was okay.
Hmm.
So you're just constantly moving that thermometer around and cleaning it off as you go. Don't forget that. You got to
Yeah.
clean it in between. So make sure that everything's holding in those temperatures it's supposed to. So by the time the health department guy showed up, which we talked about on the previous one, it was the third day. We were actually getting ready to clean up. It was really strange. He
Yeah, I
came at the
know. It
last
was very
minute.
late.
I don't know what was up with that, but it was okay. But our stuff was not holding temp. It wasn't in the zone where it should have been, but it hadn't been there very long.
Yeah.
So that's the
It was
difference. It
off
can
by
be in
like,
that temperature, but only for a short time.
yeah.
And so it depends on your health department rules. So you need to check with that. So they're always going to ask you, when was the last time you switched it out? When was the last time you moved it from the fridge to here? When was the last time, they're going to ask you all these questions and you got to be
Yeah,
ready to
you were on
answer.
the ball answering.
But yeah, I
While she
was
was
on it.
doing that, I was looking around trying to see what I could move when he wasn't looking. Because I was like, oh, wait, those grapes are sitting there
She was
underneath.
all
I was
worried
like,
about it, but grapes are not an issue.
no, I know, but I
Again,
was
like the
still, I'd be
peanuts and
like,
the and
get
or
ready.
the mixed nuts, nobody cares about that. It was the other stuff.
What
So
was
she's over there
interesting is the
kind of
fridge.
having a panic attack, and
I
I'm like, no,
was.
we're good. We're
I know.
good.
Well, he didn't see me, but we went in, and he even wanted to see the refrigerator that we had
He
no
did.
control over.
He
And
did.
when you went in, he checked the temperature of the fridge and all that, and that was
Yeah.
even off a little bit
It
apparently.
was off a little,
Which,
but I mean,
yeah,
people could have been opening it, but who knows?
yeah,
In any case, it wasn't sitting for a lengthy amount of
yeah.
time in the danger zone, is what it's called.
One of the
So
things why we're
it was
talking
fine.
about this, because it would suck so bad if you were doing this event and you were doing great and then they shut you down. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Obviously, you don't want to make people sick, and hopefully you're doing everything right. But the reality is, you don't have control over what those health departments going to say and do. And if they came in
Mhm.
and they you were off by even 2 degrees, it's like getting a ticket. Some cop's going to give you a ticket for 5 miles over.
Mhm.
Somebody, could be the same thing here where you're only 5 degrees over and they're going to say shut down. And that's
And
going
with
to
that
suck.
said, I don't want to scare people either.
No, no.
It is not, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
It is not that hard it sounds like it is because we're giving you a lot of information at once, but the reality is it's not that hard.
No.
And
You can do
literally,
it.
you could do one event and learn everything you need to know in that one event.
Yeah.
So all of you out there that are worried about it and you're nervous and you're anxious and you don't know what to do and blah blah blah, don't be. Just get
Yeah.
out there and freaking do it
Yeah.
because you will not learn what you need to learn
That's
listening
true.
to us entirely.
Yeah.
You need to go do.
Hmm.
And that's why when I talk to people or I'm answering people on our Facebook page or wherever, we've got 5 million different ways for people to reach us.
You know,
Whenever I'm reaching back to him, don't be scared. You
just go
got to
do
go
it.
do it, or you
Yeah.
won't ever learn.
Yeah, and so because the temperature
Don't
was
be
off a
scared.
little bit, she got written
It's
up,
okay.
not in a bad
Yeah.
way, but she got written up. We didn't get shut down.
I didn't
But
get
what
written up, but he's got to do his
he has
report.
to do his
So,
report. So that's what I mean written up. So the point I'm making is that the next event, they got record of that. So
right.
just, and take whatever they say. Now, our guy couldn't give us quote unquote advice, apparently, which I
That's what they
get.
tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but he did say if you have a way to try to circulate the air around like a refrigerator. So, of course, my husband and I this week have been on this mission. I don't know if any of you have ever had your knee replaced. My husband had two knee replaced. And so we started having this chat, and I even talked to Andrew about it because she was with mom all week. But we started having this chat about this knee replacement device that is an ice pack that wraps around your knee. And what it does is it has a pump that runs water through it, icy cold water. And the icy cold water is coming from a little cooler that's maybe about 12 inches by 10 inches, maybe. And
Hmm.
inside there's water. And what we do is we took icy cold freezer we took bottles of water and froze them. And then what it does is you plug it in and it pumps the water into the knee thing. And so it keeps your
That
knee,
makes total
holy
sense.
mackerel. And so we started talking about maybe we need to invent something that will work, that will do something very similar to this, where we'll run water all the time cold in there, but we're still dealing with the temperatures at the top. And so
Right.
you made a point the other day about using 3 pans versus six, and I thought that wasn't a bad
Mhm.
idea because now you can lay things closer
Flat.
to the metal
Right.
sides,
Right.
which I don't think is a bad idea,
Right.
So
So it would
that,
be laid out in a flatter way.
yeah,
It would
right.
change the structure of your product, whatever it is you're serving.
Yeah,
But I mean, you can work around anything if you think about it. That's the bottom line, is that all it took was one event for us to rethink
couple
our
things.
whole
Yeah,
world, the whole pop thing and the whole, let's put everything in different coolers, and then we'll pull the cold food out of there, and everything in the top would be all non-perishable items.
right.
So moving forward, we're going to do some wine events and things during the fall, which is still hot here. It's
Yeah,
still hot. So, the health department guy said he was in an indoor event. Somebody had a charcuterie cart and theirs was holding at 75 degrees. And so
that's unacceptable.
that's a really good example of, okay, so they had stuff in the bottom. They didn't put anything on the top. And so the bottom was fine, but the food that was in the top was running at 70. So
Yeah,
that's horrible. And
not good at all. Yeah.
no, that's a good way to kill somebody. So you don't want to be in that boat. You don't want to be that.
Hey,
So
not only that, but I mean, if you looked at it, I mean, whether or not you ate
yeah,
it, if you looked
ew,
at it, it had to have been like
dried
greasy,
out and kind of,
warm,
yeah, it does
not
it
changed
does the sweating
colors.
thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
anyway.
I noticed the ham was kind of get the hook.
Okay. Anyways,
Oh, so anyway, so
so
there's that.
thermometers,
Are
thermometers.
you thermometers? And I don't even, you're right. I don't think I would have thought about that. And he definitely came in with his own thermometer and he was
And
check. Oh, and
right.
he was really happy you had your thermometer.
And they don't tell you the thing that I went back and looked at after that. They don't tell you that you should do that.
Yeah,
And I think personally, I think that should be a requirement, that they should tell you you have to have X number of thermometers that are clean and sitting in a sanitized bucket at all times.
yeah,
Because that's what we're required to do in a restaurant.
yeah. Why would it be any
So
different?
that's
I don't
weird.
know.
Anywho, do
Well,
it.
so
Do it for
anyway,
yourself.
yeah. So we got through that. And so the whole day we ended up selling, I don't know how many, to be honest with you. We had so here was another thing that we were debating on how to track the way we were making money. So we were getting cash, we were getting cards, and we had a POS, a point of sale that we were on our phones. What we found that we did have a moment or two where the internet I don't know if we talked about this the other day, but the internet, you got to keep that in mind because if you're going to use your point of sale, the internet became an issue when it was really crowded at the parade.
Yeah.
And that got scary because everybody who was trying to buy, we actually had a slowdown because we were trying to figure out what was the passcode to the hotel that we were close by,
Right.
and we couldn't
Right.
find the lady. Anyway, we were able to hook up to that, so that was better. The other thing I noticed that depending on the tools you have, not to say good or bad, it just depends on your tools. And also, I didn't know this, but I didn't realize that all credit cards weren't scannable like that. And so
Mm.
some of the people came up and said, "Oh, here's my card," and then it wouldn't work because it's not one of those
It's
tap
not a
type,
touch to pay.
which I
Yeah.
had no clue that exists. So make sure that you understand that. And so instead, you might want to be sure you've got a QR code that people can go to. Andrea had a backup Venmo that we used for a short period of time
Yeah.
when we were having
Really
some
got in trouble.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it lasted for a short time, but
Yeah.
the last thing you want to run into is, oh shit, I can't take any money. That would suck.
But it was like it
It's like,
felt like so it was probably a 5 minute time frame and
yeah,
it
we
felt
went for
like
hours. Felt like
45
a long
minutes
time.
because it just was like, wait, what? We can't
Yeah.
take money?
And we got a
What? So
line and
we ended
everybody
up with a
was
line.
out
Yeah.
there. So that was something to keep in mind that make sure that you're aware of whether or not you're going to have internet and if it's going to be a crowded event. If you've ever been to a concert and a busy, packed concert, which I many times, and your phone doesn't work, all of a sudden everybody and their brother's on their phone. So
Hmm.
that's something you got to keep in mind if you're going to be using, which you want to take cards, you do. So make sure
We
we
do.
have a point of sale software that worked good for the most part. I will say again, it seemed like I think the bigger issues and I didn't realize was the fact that the cards didn't all scan and and I thought it was us when it was their cards. So at the time I didn't know. So now I know. So if somebody says,
Hmm.
"Oh, your card must not be working," another thing I noticed that sometimes the Apple worked better than my Android, which in a way was good. You're on a totally different. You're not on the same phone service as me. Which, if I can give you any advice, that actually was helpful because she's on some other phone service. I'm on a different one, and we won't name them because we don't need to advertise for them, but one service was better over another at certain times of the day too, which I felt was interesting.
Right,
So
right. And I have an iPhone, she's got an Android, so for whatever reason that was
it was
working differently.
also
So
a thing.
it was a
So
weird thing.
it was
But I know a
good.
lot of people out there also just use their iPads or their tablet and they have the app on there and they've got the whole Square setup or whatever it is they're doing. Just make sure, before you
Everything's
start
working.
going that everything's working. We tested everything out.
Right.
We didn't know we were going to have that weird little glitch when everybody and their brother was down in the same area we were and
Right.
everything slowed down. If you can hook up to internet, great. I know that I've been to craft fairs where I've had that same problem where everything slows down because everybody's trying to ring stuff up with their point of sales on their phone, which is
Yeah.
point of sale, we mean is like Square. And, and
Uh-huh.
nobody's working and blah, blah, blah. And there was one lady at this one craft fair where she had a Starlink and she had it set up. And so we were all hooking up to that and it worked,
Yeah.
because we weren't getting good enough service. So, just make sure you're checking that before you get started. It'll
And
just make your life less stressful.
I think it's a great question to ask the event person if they're at all aware.
Sure.
As we said, our event person
That
was
was my
somewhat
bad. I
clueless.
should have asked her because I
Yeah.
I just assumed it was going to work. And actually it did.
It did
And she
work.
did
Till
tell
it
us.
got
She came
busy
to
and
us and
then,
said we could hook up to it. She gave me the thing and our phones were working fine, so I didn't think,
yeah,
that we needed to be hooked up, but
right.
we
Yeah.
did when it got busy.
When you got 10 million things being thrown at you, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to talk about tent stability tricks.
Oh
Didn't
yeah,
you
we
bring
had
that
talked
up?
about it on
Yeah.
the last podcast that we
Yeah.
would give you some tips about stabilizing your tent. So we went back to if you have a charcuterie cart, we keep bringing that up because that seems to be the order of the day. If you have a charcuterie cart, there is a lot of people out there. You'll see the cool photos of them having the umbrella and all that jazz. An umbrella is not enough to
Uh-uh.
protect your charcuterie cart in the sun or from any kind of elements. So please keep that in mind. If you're at a wedding event or something, please ask to be under some overhang or inside or someplace where you're protected. You cannot be with a charcuterie cart in an outdoor or even in an indoor event, but it needs to be protected from the
Yeah.
sun.
Yeah.
And so we had a 10 by 10, pop up tent, that canopy tent that you buy. Mine is not like one of those commercial ones that some of the craft fair vendors have. It's just one I bought at Walmart that's one person pop up. So, but one of the things I have learned over the years of doing so many craft fairs is that how to keep your tent down. So what I do is I have the bags. I don't use those big old buckets full of sand or water, or the people fill them with cement. I
Yeah.
cannot do that because I'm alone at most of my events, and those things are really heavy. So I do have 35-pound weights of sand that are in bags that tie up to the corners. You find these on Amazon and in my catering list thing that I've got online. So they just hook up to the poles of your canopy. And then so here's the trick. Your tent comes with little tie downs, that come down from the corners of the fabric of the tent. And that is what you want to hook also to the weights that are at the
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you're pulling everything down, not just the poles. Because what happens, you turn into Mary Poppins when you get 70-mile-an-hour winds, and the whole
Chim
freaking thing,
chimney, chim chim.
whether you've got weights on your bottoms or not is irrelevant, because it's going to take the fabric and
Blow it
drag
off.
it.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to do a Mary Poppins trick. So
Yeah.
you want to have that fabric tied
Tied
down.
down. Yeah.
Don't cut those strings off. I've seen a lot of people who have just cut them off and think
Yeah.
that's good. Nope,
I
don't do
think it's also important that you find out from the event organizer whether or not what you're allowed to have, because you
that.
don't
Yeah,
want those big things if they don't want them there.
a lot of
People,
times
there's
they don't.
tripping
Yep.
hazards and strings out there are going to trip people. And
Mm-hmm,
so make sure
mm-hmm.
that you have everything self-contained as much as you can, especially like Andrew said, if you're by yourself, which I can't imagine if you're going to be an event like something like we
You
did,
don't want
you
to be
could
by yourself.
possibly be
Yeah.
by yourself. But
No.
yeah, it would be a little chill. I don't know how you would do
I
it.
can do craft fairs by myself because I
Food,
don't
you're
have
kind of cooking
food
everything out
involved.
now. Gloves going
I
on and
sell a
plugs
lot of
coming
other
off.
things, but I don't sell
Yeah,
food. If you're selling food, you always want to have a second person to deal with your money,
yeah.
and dealing with, like Patty said, the phone and the electronics to ring cards
Other
up,
stuff
because
going on.
you can't be touching all of that stuff and then touching the food.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's
Well, and
not a
then
good
if you,
look, and it's not healthy.
right, and you have
So,
gloves on, then you're taking them off and you're replacing them, throwing them on, and it takes time. And,
right,
my hands are
right.
10 size bigger than Andrea's. I can palm a basketball.
We're
Oh,
not
wait,
sure why,
I did palm
what
some
happened there.
basketballs in my day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Anyway, so that's really good advice, and I think the biggest part to take away from that was really is I agree with Andrea. I don't know how in a million years you could do an outdoor event with just one umbrella. I just
No, you can't.
I don't care what time of year it is.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're protecting yourself. On top of the fact you get one gust of wind that comes up and it's going to
And you're
tear,
gone.
and there
Hmm.
goes your cart possibly too. I
It
mean,
could be. It could pull your cart.
if you've got
They come
crazy
out that
winds.
strong. If nothing else, again, that's going to be the total Mary Poppins, because the umbrella is just going to go. It's going to be
Yeah,
gone.
everything's gone. Exactly.
So you don't
Not
want to deal
good.
with all that kind of drama. It's better just to, have it. I would highly suggest on those outdoor events having that tent stability,
Yeah.
tent set up. And I don't know if we actually have pictures of that part of it, but next time we do an event, we'll take a picture of the actual way we
Yeah,
tie
I
the
don't know
tent
if we did.
down.
I
I don't
don't
know if
think
we
I
did or
have it.
not.
I don't have any on the outside other than I
Yeah.
wish I was laughing at Andrew. I wish I'd had it when you were out there trying to tuck
I'm glad you
sides
didn't,
down
because
during the weather.
I don't need to be reminded of
So
that.
let's
I
talk
already had a
about,
kind of a dramatic
I
day or
know.
dramatic weekend anyway, so we're going to roll into something
Yeah,
else,
because you had
another
to
stupid
deal with my
story.
deal. Well, we're going to get to that in a minute because right now I want to talk about how much we purchased, and well,
Uh-huh.
we don't have to go into dollar figures, but we ended up having leftovers, and
Right.
so because of, as we mentioned in the previous episode, that we expected more traffic, and because of where we were located, it didn't pan out like we had hoped. So, but we were prepared. I think my big thing was let's not run out of food, and so we bought a lot, and we had a lot. It was a lot of it was in storage at our houses. We had our motorhome, which you might have heard, and so it was everything was safe. A lot of what we had a lot of food left over. And one of the things that Andrew, that we brought up earlier or previously was that Andrew said we should buy everything at Costco as far as the food goes, because if we run out, at least we'll be able to get down to Costco, because in her town, that's really all that was there as far as bulk food places. Like they don't
Yeah.
have a restaurant depot or restaurant or anything like
Right.
we do down here where I'm
The
at,
menu was developed around
around
Costco
everything at
products.
Costco, right? Because you didn't have an Aldi up there. You don't. You're getting one though, right? But anyway, you wouldn't have.
We
You
are, but I wouldn't
probably
have purchased. I
not
wouldn't
for this event.
purchase
Yeah.
for individual trays. I would purchase at Aldi or Trader Joe's, but not for anything that's more than 10
Yeah,
people.
this kind of event would
It's
have
not worth your money.
so
Yeah,
we were looking for
you're right.
bulk
That's
anyway.
a
So
podcast for another story.
as far as the purchases go, then, so I think while we've been writing this book, we talked a lot about how to deal with waste and how to deal with overbuying. What do you buy? If we had tips for you, my thing from doing my research and just going through this entire process was buy things that are a lot more sturdy. So Andrew and I talked about strawberries when we were talking about, oh, it'd be nice to have strawberries, but they're going to
They
be a
don't hold.
hell of a time to they're not sturdy enough, right, for an
No,
event like something like
nope.
this.
And they bleed. They
Yeah.
bleed. They need a specific temperature. So when I worked at the Phoenician, I'm going to brag about that every time I can.
Yeah.
First job I ever had in a kitchen resort situation was the Phoenician 25 something years ago. And I learned how to deal with berries because I was in garde manger, which is cold food, which is basically charcuterie. And I had to wash berries, and I was specifically told by my chef, who was Swedish. I'm not kidding, he was a Swedish
At a
chef, and
French restaurant.
he talked he talked like the guy from the Muppets. I'm not joking.
And we're
So
not talking about Elmo.
I love that
No,
guy. I
no, I know
love
who you're
that guy. I
talking
learned
about. He
so
kind of
much from
mumbled.
him when I understood what he was saying. I totally loved him. Anyways, one of the things was don't rinse the strawberries until you're literally ready to put them on the tray. They
Yeah.
cannot go on overnight. They cannot go on anytime until they're ready to be rolled out to the buffet service, because they bleed, they fall apart, they get funky. And
Get
we all know
mushy.
that you can't do that. You can't wash raspberries anyways. You can't wash raspberries are not even an option for anything really,
Yeah.
except for when they want to go just directly into a bowl. But anyways, so strawberries were not an option. And so we developed the menu and our product that we sold around things that were stable to put in and to be sitting. They're
Yeah.
not going to lose their integrity in any way once they sit a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Grapes.
we use parchment paper in between all the slices of cheese that kept the cheese nice and moist, so it doesn't look dried out and gross on the ends. So the cheese slices were all separated, and that kind of stuff. It's once you start doing this, and these are just
Right.
little tips, you're going to get
What I
you
liked
need to
about that.
understand how to hold them.
Right. What I liked about that is it was obviously easier to just pick it up and
Pull it
kind
out.
of pull it off and stick it into the tray. The few that I made when she was
Mm-hmm.
in the bathroom or wherever, drying off.
Drink.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
No, we left after that one.
We left after that. But so, yeah, I totally thought that was a really good idea. We did as much prep as we could possibly do, but because again, I want to go back to depending on the event that you're at, how much event prep you can do is totally based on your rules, laws, regulations, what you're able to do. Most on an outdoor event, public, that most of this had to be done on site. Now we did a good
Mm-hmm.
portion of what we could do ahead of time, and then we did have stuff that were in. Then we put them in coolers, in containers. Those whatever, what are the name? Glad
I just
container,
bought,
throwaway
I
Glad
bought, I
containers.
didn't buy the restaurant type containers
No,
because honestly, those are made for like restaurant, space, like a walk-in cooler. I bought these flat, they were probably only about, I don't know, what do you say,
They're
three
not
inches,
that,
two
they
inches
weren't even
tall?
2 inches
And
probably.
they're huge. In fact, I have them right
What's
there.
good
But
about
anyways,
them? Yeah, they
what
could
was
they
good
could fit
about them
them.
was they fit perfectly in the coolers. I could layer out all the cheese and all make all the roses and whatever and just layer them out and then put them, just they stacked on top of each other, each individual ingredient.
Containers. Yeah.
So
So
I
they,
didn't use Ziplocs because Ziplocs would have smashed everything.
yeah.
Although I considered using Ziplocs moving forward for certain things, but anyway, that's a story for another time. But I, just went to the dollar store and I bought these flat
And they're
plastic storage
reusable. I mean, they'll
containers.
be able to be
Yeah,
used again.
yeah, yeah.
They're kind of
Until they
like
fall
the,
apart. I mean, they're dollar store ones, but
yeah,
they were very good for what we needed them
yeah.
for, and for prepping and layering everything out and fanning it all out, and then just grabbing it from there and putting them in our containers. They work great. They
Yeah.
work great.
Right.
So
Totally, that was a plus for sure.
yeah,
So, and we were, what was great about that is because in our case, we were storing a lot of this in my refrigerator, some of this in my refrigerator in my motorhome. So,
hmm,
we just needed to be sure that we were, being
yeah,
conscious of space, which I think, trading the ice packs out, which we had to do every night we were there, the ice packs. We had different
yeah,
various size ice packs. You even froze some Ziplocs
yeah.
for various, just to be prepared for the cooler. It was more for the cooler freezing stuff
Yeah,
that we needed to
because
keep
I was
cold on
so hung
site.
up. I was so worried about
Yeah,
keeping everything cold.
yeah. Well, of
And
course.
I'm pretty sure that we kept everything cold within the coolers were fine. They
Yeah,
were
they
fine.
were
When you
fine.
would open that, because it was steamy, like literally like steam would come out
Steam would
because
come
it
out
was
because it was
cold.
so hot outside and cold inside. So anyway, and bottom line is we still had food left over that we didn't even open, we didn't touch. And
Hmm.
both Andrew and I are in the process of, believe it or not, another plus about Costco is they'll take anything back. And even since we've decided because of the weather that we're going to cancel this upcoming event that we believe would have been good, but the weather's going to be a challenge for the location of where they're putting us. We are not under trees. We are not in the shade. We're literally
Yeah,
out smack dab in the sun, facing the worst
the
direction
entire day.
possible. And
Yeah,
it's just we're gonna be in the same boat, and the
only
crowds are
worse.
gonna be, that'll be worse because the crowds will be less, I think. So we've just made a decision that this is a business decision that, we just, it doesn't make sense for us to do
We
it.
backed out.
And
Hmm.
and so could we keep it all and throw it in the freezer? Absolutely. Do we have all that space? Well, I do, but Andrew doesn't. But at the same time, I mean, I want to just put the money back on my credit card. So we taken most of it back. And thankfully Costco's letting us do it. Do I encourage that if you can avoid it? No. But
No,
I try to avoid it, and that's
right.
why now let's roll into our work on getting the charcuterie cart calculator we're working on. And one of the things that we've been back and forth about is, do you make a calculator that's based fully on portions, right? And so if and we're working on it, and I think we're really close. But if you know that a block of cheese from Costco, a brick of cheese can cut up into certain amount of pieces depending on how you're slicing it, how many pieces that you're going to put onto the actual product for sale, how much do you put into it. So you're really not really pricing it out based on how much you're going to make on it, because instead it's how many pieces are you putting in. So
Hmm.
having kind of a plan for that, I think, is going to be good. So keep an eye out for that calculator. We hope to get in there. But the pricing book, the pricing guide, and the profit book that we're going to be out, it's going to be an ebook right now. I don't know if we'll put it into paperback version because prices might change and things. So I don't know if that's going to be helpful, but possibly.
But we did come up with some great, so I used an equation that I've just used in the past
Mhm.
as far as figuring out based on what I thought the foot traffic was. And we talked about the way this organizer kind of gave us false information.
Yeah.
But with that said, if you get the correct information, you can base the amount that you need for a public event or a farmer's market or whatever on this equation that we're providing for you. We're still tweaking some things, but it's all in the book.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that'll be a plus for everybody because that is just like pricing and how much to buy and all that jazz.
Yeah.
People are just ripping our doors down for that. And
Yeah.
so we are doing our best to try to make it make sense. Again, in my head, I'm doing this off of just I've done it forever. This is what I know, and I
Hmm.
don't think about it. And now I'm actually thinking about it and we're putting it down. So for other people to hopefully
Yeah.
take advantage of.
Take advantage of. Well, and because it is so important, the whole
It
idea, the
is.
whole reason, we're all doing this is to make money, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't
Have fun
pay
and
if
make
you
money. Yeah.
have fun and make money. And if you're losing money, if you got a lot of waste, so that's why even in the book, we're going to talk about the best sustainable type products to put on your boards and your
Mm-hmm.
tables, and depending on the
Mm-hmm.
event. And again, I mean, some of the people, some of our listeners are, making little tea sandwiches and all that. That's not really what we're talking about here, but bottom line is, try to make as much money as you can on these events. Otherwise, it just doesn't, don't doesn't bother. I mean, it doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Plus, I think the other point to make in the book that I think I really hit home was just making sure that you're doing events that you want to do, and don't
Right.
go
Right.
do everything under the sun. I tend to want to do a lot and do everything, and then what happens is you find out you're not making any money because you can't focus on what number one that you really want to do, and number two that's going to make you the most money. And so why beat
Yeah.
yourself up over it? Just
Yeah.
okay, if you're only going to serve, if you only want to do the carts, great, then put all your efforts into making sure that what you're doing is going to make you the most money possible, and do it safely for your audience or your people that are going to be there. So I think, God, we hit everything home that we wanted to.
Well,
Oh,
I was
except
going to
for the
give our funny
fact
story about my dog.
your poor doggy. So yeah, this was the night. This was the night before the fourth, the second day we were
No,
there,
it was
right?
no, it was the 4th of
Fourth of
July.
July. Oh, that's right. So it
I
was
left
that's
m-
right.
my
Yeah.
beautiful, I have a brindle dog and she'll be 4 years old. She's a medium-sized dog. And I left her with my kids and it was not their fault, it's just something that happened. She was outside in their backyard and they went to go see the fireworks. And of course, people were letting off fireworks in the neighborhood. She she hurdled a 5.5 foot tall fence and took off like a bat out of hell. By the time they realized what happened and they got home and realized she was gone, we couldn't find her. Then on top of that, I was exhausted because it was just a long day. And then I had gone to sleep. The kids are like banging on my door because they thought I was dead because I wasn't answering my
Well, you
phone.
kind of were at that point,
Yeah,
but not.
so that because I didn't hear it, so they're banging on my door. So the whole bottom line is she has an air tag, and we needed to find her, and she'd already been gone for over an hour. At that point, it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I was so freaked out because my dog is my baby, and I don't have any
Mhm.
kids at home anymore. So I have one dog and three cats. So I'm up in the middle of the night, running all over town, trying to chase down this air tag. Air tags only work when they come in contact with another Apple product. So I'm
Who knows
finding her,
where out in the
she's
desert
in different
somewhere.
places,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I finally had to give up at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. It was like 1 a.m.
And you had to be
Finally
back
give
at the
up.
event at
I
7.
had to be back at the event at 7, which meant I had to get up at 5. So I go home, I cry myself to sleep because I think she's dead. I think
Yeah.
she's been run over. She's camouflaged, she's a brindle. So then at 3:30 in the morning, I'm dead asleep. My watch goes off because it's an iWatch. My watch goes off. It shows her on the main highway near my house. I am totally tripped out. Jump in the car, rush down to where I think I'm going to find a dead dog on the road. And lo and behold, she is standing there scared to death
Yeah.
in this parking lot of this business.
And what
And
time was this now? 3 in the
3:30,
morning, 3:30 in the
3:30.
morning.
So we
Oh.
came back. So I get her. She's scared to death. We come back. I'm just so happy. I was like crying all the way home that she was still alive. Get home. We fall asleep for about a half an hour. Her and I just dead to the world. And then my
Oh.
alarm goes off and I have to get up. And I got up and
Oh.
I made it through that whole day, the
Yeah.
next day, which was the last day of our event, but it was a
Hmm.
long day.
Yeah.
So, shit happens and you just get through it. And, it's like the show must go on.
I was
So
so thankful that you found the dog. It would have just been
I
the
was
worst.
so,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God, I
Yeah.
was hysterical,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
hysterical. Because,
Yeah.
especially when I did find her, this business was very close to the main highway. There's a lot of big trucks that go around on that area. I live in a very small town, but there's a highway that goes
Well, the
through it.
plus was it was the middle of the night, so there wasn't
Yeah,
a lot of
there wasn't
traffic
a
at
lot of
that time.
traffic. It
It
was a
probably would have been
holiday, so
worse.
people
Yeah.
were not moving around as much, but it would have just taken one bad car to
Yeah. I
swipe
think I
her.
told you about our Doberman we had years and years and years ago that ran
Mhm.
off on the 4th of July, and we didn't see that dog for 4 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it showed
That's
back
crazy.
up.
Yeah.
Well, not at home. We got somebody call us, but yeah, it was crazy. Well,
Anyway,
anyway,
so
it
it
turned
ended up
out to
on a
be a
good
good
note.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It was
we
still a
had
good weekend.
yeah, we had plus and minuses. Hopefully, y'all have learned something. It's all we can do is just tell you our story and tell you how it
Mhm.
happened and what to do and what not to do. And I think the pluses outweighed the minuses, but I because we learned so much from it,
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
that was really key. And so hopefully our next events won't have so much drama, and the
Hmm.
weather hopefully won't be in a part of it. But so yeah, did we cover all the stuff that we thought we
I
wanted
think
to? I
so. I
think
made a
so.
bunch of notes. I'm pretty sure we went through everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, right down to the
Well,
dog
yeah.
jumping the fence.
So
So
you and I were talking about our upcoming episode. What were we saying we wanted to talk about? Just a minute, just right before we got
we did say
on the
something.
phone, we were talking about. Um, I
I
think
forget.
I think one of the things I would like to really focus on is
Oh,
just
marketing. We were
the
talking about
whole thing
marketing
about
yesterday.
marketing and because now that we have the cart, how do you let the world know the private events, right? And so how do you let people know that you have it, private and public? You were sending me
Hmm.
links to a local downtown events in your neck of the woods of places that we could sing at actually. And then I started having this idea about, oh, we could offer up music and the cart. So maybe you figure out a way to combine some other things that if you could even hook up with another kind of business that might be a great complement to what you do and then kind of do a package deal. Turns out
Hmm.
my husband and I actually do perform at weddings and things like that. So I started thinking, well, we could put together a package and then offer up, hey, we could be there during the, time between the wedding and the rehearsal or the pictures or whatever. But anyway, mine's going like this, trying to
So I
come up
think
with
I know I can see it.
ideas.
So I think discussing like different avenues for setting or for taking your charcuterie cart or your business to wherever, like getting those attention. We have talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I think we did that in the very
Yeah.
beginning, but we need to kind of update that and maybe go into a little more detail with
Right.
it. How to get yourself out there and
Out
how to
there. Right.
like I always like to say, shake hands and kiss the babies.
Right.
So,
Well, and the other part is that we've had a few people requesting because we do offer full-blown software,
mhm,
website services, and some of you already have websites and but are trying to automate your sales process. So
trying to
we
figure out the
are,
purpose of a website and what it should be doing. And I think that's where I see a lot of people. That's why we're doing what we're doing is because I saw a lot of people just like there's just so much more you can do with the website that you can automate and make it
automate.
easy for your life, and you're
Right.
not hiring someone to do that for you.
Yeah. So we're going to go into
Anyways,
more
that's
about
just another
that
thought.
and just some of the mentality about owning a business and
Hmm.
things that you should think about. And we've had a lot of conversations with many of you who are just getting started and excited, but we want to make sure that you don't put the cart before the horse, the cart
Yeah.
before the horse. But and make sure that you're going and you're offering up what it is that's going to be best for your business. So we're going to talk more about that in upcoming episodes. So we're going to try. My hope is that we'll be able to record twice a week, now that things are settling down a little bit around here, and
Hmm.
grandkids are going back to school or preschool. At least mine are, and so I don't. We're watching them, but we watch them ours
Yeah.
every now and then. um,
Yeah.
And yeah, just lots of things always happening in our world. So hopefully all of you are having the same amount of excitement in your life as we've had, and hopefully your businesses, if you've already got them started, are exploding with things. And if not, we'd love to be able to help you out. Don't forget that
Yeah,
we,
the Christmas season is coming, y'all.
yeah, we
You
gotta get
know,
ready. Gotta
it's
get
Christmas
ready.
in July. Start thinking.
Start thinking
Start
about
thinking
it.
ahead.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving, Halloween, football season,
yeah,
this is really for those types of things. What we're talking about here is the season is really coming.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
get
So
ready.
tap into us. Check out grazingbiz.com/launch if you really want to learn about everything that we have. We have the
Mhm.
calculator, all the stuff's in the show notes. We've got all the links you need to get all the help you need, plus free help. So tap into our Facebook group. And just as a reminder, we're here for you.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
do you think, sis? It's
Good. I
getting,
still feel like I need a nap,
yeah, I
but
know. I'm kind of feeling it now too.
I'm
Either that
watching
or a glass
watching
of
our
wine.
mom this week. But how about
Oh,
both?
gotta love mom. Yeah, I have both, right? Gotta love mom. We do love her,
You know what?
but
She's 89. I'm never going to argue with
89.
anything. It doesn't mean I'm not exhausted. I'd rather have my, 2-year-old at home sometimes.
Well,
He
kind
he
of,
can't
kind of the
speak
same.
properly, so I don't have to deal with that.
He
But okay, Mom, we love
can't.
you. We love you.
She can't because he doesn't talk back to you or
Because he
tell you
doesn't talk fast enough and he
how
can't criticize me
how to
everywhere I go.
clean broccoli.
That's all good. Yeah,
All right.
it's still good. I'm just glad she's around. So take
I
advantage
know.
of that.
I know. All right.
Anyway, see you guys next time.
See you next time. Bye.